Hi, I'm Stevie from Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust and I'm here on one of our nature reserves in Gloucestershire, the county that you live in. And today I'm going to be talking to you about materials and wildlife. You might be thinking, what have materials got to do with wildlife? Well, we're going to be exploring what they've got to do with wildlife and maybe some of the things that you can think about doing to help wildlife in Gloucestershire. So I've got some objects here that you might not necessarily find in an outdoor space. I want you to tell me what material they are made from. So here is a children's plate. Can you shout out what material you think it's made from? Did you say plastic? If you did, then you are right. This plate is made from plastic. And in many ways, plastic is a really great material. It can be bendable, flexible, it's cheap to make, and it can last a long, long time. It's great for something like a children's plate, because if it drops on the floor, it doesn't smash. But if it's really great in lots of ways, it's sometimes not great for wildlife. We'll talk about that a little bit later. What do we have here? This is a children's toy and it's made from wood. It's made entirely from wood, even the wheels are made from wood. And wood is a natural material. It's created by trees in a woodland like this, and different trees give us different types of wood that we can use for different things. It's a natural material. What's this? It's a cookie cutter. And what is it made from? Did you guess that it's made from metal? This is made from metal. So it's been through a lot of human processes. Metal comes from the ground. It's been through a lot of human processes to make it into this shape, but it will rot down eventually. We have here. I'm not going to say the name of the object this time because it's going to give it away. What material is it made from? So this is a glass and it's made from glass as well. Glass comes from sand, but it's been through a lot of human processes in order to get it to this state where it's transparent. So glass is great for some things like windows and things we want to drink out of, but it's also very fragile once it's broken, impossible to put back together. So it's got certain properties for certain things. Now, if this glass goes into my rubbish, it will break down eventually, but it will take hundreds and hundreds of years to break down. Same for the little wooden toy. Because it's made from a natural material, if it's in the right conditions, it will start to rot down and it will return to the natural world. Same is true for the metal cookie cutter. Take a long, long time, but it will get there. But it's not true for the plastic plate. That will take hundreds, maybe thousands of years to break down. And every time we generate something plastic into the world, then it will stay there, even if it's broken. So there are certain materials that affect the natural world. We know about plastics, especially in the seas, that they start to break down, they create what we call microplastics. And that can be really detrimental to the natural world because it's invisible to the human eye, but it's affecting the ecosystem. It's getting into animals, mammals, insects, into their bodies and causing them harm. It's upsetting the ecosystem. So, what can we do in order to use materials better so that it can help protect the natural world? So pause the video here and complete your worksheet. Once you've finished your worksheet, come back to us and we'll see what else we can find out about materials and how it affects wildlife. So what did you get in your worksheet that was made of natural materials? Did you categorise wood as a natural material? Out on a nature reserve, you can see how wood is being made. by trees. This is an ash tree, and this tree makes hardwood, really great material for making things like structures in houses, bridges and steps. Now, willow and hazel are great wood for things that are malleable, that are flexible. They can be used to create baskets and woven fences, things like this. So when you're out on one of our nature reserves, you'll find that we use wood a lot to make bird houses, to make bridges, to make pond dipping platform and steps. Because wood is a fantastic material in that it's hard, but it's also a natural material. It's a sustainable material. If we continue to plant trees, then there will be enough wood for us to use if we use it correctly. And then when we're finished with it and it's broken down, it can be left to rot and the insects can eat it, and then it will turn back into soil, eventually back recycled into the natural world. So what can you do at home to help the way that materials impact on the natural world? So things like wooden toys, great, because once you're finished with them, they will start to break down and they'll leave no trace behind if they're in the right conditions. So choosing the right materials. We talked earlier about plastic plates, didn't we? I have a plastic spoon here. I also have a spoon that looks very like it. And this spoon is actually made out of bamboo. Now, bamboo is a plant. It's not really grown in this country because we're not quite warm enough, although it can be, but it's also grown in lots of other parts of the world. Bamboo is really sustainable in that it grows really quickly, and it can be used to make material that acts a lot like plastic. It's a little bit more brittle, so it might break quicker than a plastic spoon, but also when you are finished with it, in the right conditions, bamboo will decompose. It will start to break down and return to the natural world without leaving anything detrimental to wildlife behind. So one thing that you can do for wildlife is swapping your materials. Maybe choose a bamboo plate or a bamboo spoon next time rather than a plastic one. I've even got a bamboo straw. Instead of using a plastic straw that's single use and then thrown away, I have a bamboo straw. Works just as well. I only need one, and when I'm finished with it, keep it in my drawer. If it breaks, it will start to decompose in the right conditions. So something you can do is about choosing materials that are good for the natural world. Another thing that you can do is reusing things. Do you necessarily need that new thing? We are going to have to start thinking about reducing the amount of plastic that we create. So, once we have it, I've reused this old food box into a container for my pens and paints and glue. I could have bought a new box that's much prettier, but actually it works just as well, and that means that that's not going to end up on landfill. So reusing is really important. Another thing that you can do is recycling, and I know that lots of people are really good at recycling in Gloucestershire. We're really lucky in that our refuse workers start to compartmentalise and sort all the different types of recycling that we have. So one thing that you can do is clean out your recycling, making their job as easy as possible. Sort your recycling out into the right categories so that they can start to take that away and make it into new things. There's one other thing that you can do, which I know that you'll be fantastic at doing already, and that's making sure that your rubbish goes into the right bin, but that it goes into a bin. So not dropping your litter. We know that things like drinks cartons and crisp packets, while they look like they're made of paper, lots of them have plastic materials in them. And if you drop them on the floor, then mammals and insects are really interested in them. They might smell like food. And if they start to break down and they start to be eaten by things like hedgehogs, foxes, or insects, then those plastics get into their body, and we know that that's not good for the ecosystem. So one thing you can make sure you do is always put your litter in the bin. And if you can, put it in the right bin so that it can be recycled. I hope you've had a fantastic time learning about materials and how that might impact on wildlife. And I hope you'll be able to come out and visit us on a nature reserve and see the kinds of things and materials that we're using out on our nature reserve that help wildlife to thrive. Come and see us soon.